All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fast Break Live NBA podcast. Your boy Samuel here. I got with me my boy Ajayi. Recently of US Today Sports now. My boy going up big time. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, guys? Ajayi here again. I'm back finally. You know, like last time I came on here was before the season started. We went over Philadelphia. What would happen if Harden went to Philly instead of Brooklyn? You know, we spoke about who would be the best leader for the Nets, and now just everything has changed since then in the basketball world. And me and Sam and I are here to break it down.
Yeah, so before we get into the Nets, because you know we are going to talk about your team, the Nets, I want to talk about the All-Star news that has come out recently. Of course, you know, we had the All-Star starters announced, I believe it was like last week. This week we got the All-Star reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we got Shams. He tweeted out the All-Star reserves just yesterday night before TNT actually had it planned. So in the West, we got Chris Paul, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Zion Williamson, and Anthony Davis, who today got replaced by Devin Booker. In the East, we got James Harden of your Nets, Julius Randle of my Knicks, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Browne, Zach LaVine, Ben Simmons, and Vucevic from the Magic. So who stuck out to you from either the West and or the East, and why?
A surprise pick that they had as a reserve was actually Zion for me. I thought they would at least wait one more year to like throw him in there, like especially in a jam-packed Western Conference where Zion's not even the best player on his team, is Brandon Ingram. Well, for the moment, of course, they decide to choose Zion instead of him. And I'm pretty sure like I'll put Devin Booker into that All-Star game over Zion. But Zion was there after the first results came in. That was a big shocker for me. What about you?
Zion didn't surprise me that much because I know the league is like really pushing to market Zion because like as like the future face of the league. Deservedly so, I guess you can say, because of how exciting his game is and how dominant he is in such a short period of time. But the big surprise to me was actually I guess you could say Vucevic, just because the Magic were so not that far down the rankings, but like they're not necessarily a good team. Not, of course, by Vucevic's fault because he's been like killing it this year. But yeah, I thought they would have like either Sabonis or somebody else. But I mean, it just shows you how deep the league is with talent of how many people can be an all-star this year and years before, of course. But like this year, especially, it feels like there was a lot of snubs, and you could go down almost every team in the East and like point out all-stars that were snubbed, like Middleton. You can make arguments maybe for Tobias Harris. You got Jeremy Grant, Gordon Hayward. You got so many people in the league. It's so hard to like make these cuts, and I'm so glad I don't have to make these decisions. So because like this just seems so stressful.
For Nikola Vucevic, as you mentioned, he's actually been a player that I've admired for years. You know, like he's always been that consistent big man that can get you a double-double, and he can rebound the ball well. He's just been dealing with injuries through the years. You know, he has never gotten a squad that is able to contend. So although he's an all-star this year, I want to see him in a position where he's able to contend for a championship or able to contend for at least a conference, because he's always been, I guess you can say, mediocre on this Orlando Magic team. You know, Montenegrin big man right there.
Yeah. Like he's been killing it from three. I think he's shooting like 40% or something like that on like five attempts, I believe, a game. But like, yeah, like the Magic, I said this on the last episode I did recently. I was just like, Orlando's that team that just needs to like give up on trying to rebuild and be a playoff team at the same time, because it hasn't worked for them. And like this year with all the injuries, it's like a sign basically, like telling them to just like time to give out Vucevic, Fournier, Terrence Ross, ship them out to playoff teams, see what you could get back, and embrace the rebuild full on, because it's doing a disservice to guys like Vucevic having to play on 8th seeds every year, and now they're like like 13th in the East or something right now. So like it just doesn't
So
help.
what to do with Aaron Gordon, you think?
Yeah, Aaron Gordon's intriguing because he would help actually a lot of contenders, but he's also still type young. So like they could go either or with him. It depends on how the front office views him, if they view him as part of their future. I mean, it hasn't necessarily played out to Aaron Gordon's full potential there. In my best belief, I don't think he's lived up to his full potential there, but I think he'd probably be better suited on some other teams.
Would you rather have him on a contending team or a team where he can get another fresh start and try to carry that team?
I wouldn't want to see him try to carry. I would just like to see him like fit in somewhere, like a playoff contending team, something like that.
Like have like a lessened role.
Yeah, a lesson role and like not have the expectations of being the lottery pick from that team. Because like a lot of times you see these players, they have this burden of trying to live up to the expectation of where they were drafted, and it just doesn't work out because you just sometimes need a fresh start. Like look at Markelle Fultz in Orlando; he's not their number one overall pick, so it works out better for him than if he remained in Philly. He would always have that tag of, oh, he was the number one pick, but he's not living up to it. Such stuff, something like that.
Right. I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how this All-Star weekend plays out in general because like they're jamming everything into one day. Pre-game, you got the skills and the three-point contest, and halftime, you have the dunk contest. How do you feel about all that being just condensed into one thing?
I feel like it's just the league trying to adapt to what we got to deal with right now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has to adapt to the way the world is right now. Well, mainly America, if we want to be specific right now. It's weird. We all know it's weird, but we got to get used to it. I don't really like the format, but if it's the only thing that can work, and if it could work better for the league and the players, then I guess we'll let it work. You know. What do you think about that?
I'm not a fan of All-Star Weekend in general this year specifically because I feel like it's just a risk that the league doesn't need to take because like first of all, it's in Atlanta. We already know how Atlanta's rocking with Rona right now. Like they just don't care. I've seen flyers of all the All-Star parties that's going up over there. It's just not the place to be. Like if they want to have All-Star Weekend, why not just like throw it in like Idaho or something, like somewhere obscure where like players will have no choice but to stay in their hotels.
But then they gotta make some money, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The league is all about their money. So they did it in Atlanta. That was already one thing. And then to have everything and have all the best players in one area, it just maximizes the risk of like, if just one player gets it, then boom, how many more are going to get it? And then that just leaks into the second half of the schedule that just got released today too. But yeah, and then you got some teams dealing with their best players out for like 2 weeks because health and safety protocols and whatnot. So that's my only problem with it.
High risk, high reward. That's what the league is going for on this move.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully everyone stays safe and then we don't have anyone dealing with this in the second half of the season. So, yeah. Moving off the All-Star talks, recently, there was a Bleacher Report article that came out, I think it was like 2 days ago, about Porzingis being quietly gauged, like the Mavericks are quietly gauging his interest around the league for like his trade value. And then Ian Begley of SNY came out the following day confirming that and saying they've reached out to teams like the Warriors of possibly like trying to find out what Porzingis' trade value is like. So how do you feel about Porzingis' time in Dallas possibly being up already after they just recently acquired him?
It didn't have to go down this way. You know, like he played for the Knicks, then wanted out. Comes to Dallas, tries to prove a point to not just the Knicks, but every basketball fan that he can still play like on that all-star level that he reached playing for you guys, the Knicks. And then in the playoffs, he just gets hurt. Regular season, he just gets hurt. It's just he can't catch a break. He deserves a break. Like, he's been grinding on his whole life to make it to this point in his career. And now it's just a matter of just staying healthy. He just can't do that. And the league is understanding that. They're not going to offer a lot for Kristaps Porzingis in a trade package, which is why I think Dallas will end up keeping him. But they're going to lessen his role and not rely on him as much and probably push him to maybe getting like that third star, treatment. If not the third star, maybe just a regular contributor, a regular role player, because they can't keep depending on his presence because they need him. Luka can't do it all by himself. They have other players like Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway Jr. that are finding, comfortability playing with this Dallas system. And with Kristaps out, the chemistry is always going to be off if he's not always playing. So that's what I think about that whole situation. It's extremely unfortunate for both sides.
Well, as a Knicks fan who owns Dallas's pick this year, I am dancing all over their grave if they cannot find a way to trade Porzingis and keep him. Because, first of all, the whole Porzingis situation went down so differently from our point of view than it got leaked out to the world. It made the Knicks seem like they were the villains this whole time in this story. They were not. They may have handled Phil Jackson may have handled dealing him or like trying to find his value the same way Dallas is right now. Phil Jackson may have handled it bad. I will say that. But all in all, he was right. I mean, Phil Jackson's whole philosophy was that he doesn't trust Porzingis's frame to hold up over time because, as you can see now, it's like constant injuries. He had the ACL tear in New York. They dealt him to Dallas. I mean, all of New York, not media, but like New York fans in general were just like, just wait. His body will not hold up over time because every year when he was in New York, it was a constant issue of late in the season. Oh, he's fatigued. And then, he's dealing with lower body injuries. And then over time, Knicks fans started to worry. It was like, is this guy going to be able to hold up for us to be our franchise star? Do we want to pay him max money? That's when the trade came up. They trade him to Dallas. Dallas pays him the max money. And now they're seeing that, hey, it might not be worth it. Let's try to see what we can get for him. Mm-hmm. But like you said, they might not get much for him right now because his value is so low. And I necessarily don't even think that they need Porzingis because I think that they actually play better without him because he's that much of a defensive liability now. And then offensively, he doesn't give you as much as you're hoping he does. And you just can kind of shore it up with the other role players who are not as consistent, but they'll still give you that 20 points that he can give you. But
20 points is a lot.
It is, but like you can if you could spread it out across like 3 role players instead of having it condensed in Porzingis, who will take like some of those fadeaways that he doesn't make in the post because he's not a good post player, or some of those long threes that he takes because he's not as an efficient shooter as he thinks he is. Then if you can get it from other role players, you kind of don't mind him being out. And as you can see in the last 2 games,
it's not that guaranteed if you're relying on role players because role players are role players for a reason.
Of course not, but like Porzingis has been playing like a role player. He's been playing like a role player since he came back.
Look, he hasn't even gotten the time to like find his rhythm following an injury
that's the main problem because he's always dealing with injuries.
Doncic is 21 years old. Kristaps is 25 years old. He needs to say to himself right now, okay, I keep getting hurt. So I need to load manage. I cannot play every game in the season until he says to himself and says to Mark Cuban and says to everybody that plays on that Dallas team that I have to load manage so you guys could play me in the playoffs. We're going to keep seeing these problems with Kristaps Porzingis. And all y'all Knicks fans are going to be rejuvenated, happy, celebrating like it's a party because he's not finding that all-star form that everybody kept raving about when you guys traded him away. Because everybody just looked at the way he played. Everyone saw what he did for you guys, but
The
Hey,
one thing that was super blasphemous from media that they said when we traded him, Max Kellerman compared the dude to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That from that point forward, I stopped taking serious what mainstream media has said about Kristaps Porzingis, the Knicks, anything in general. Like when Max Kellerman said that, that's when he became like a joke. He was already a joke before, but like that's when he became even more of a joke. Like you can't make blasphemous statements like that. He compared Luca
that's
and KP to
hilarious.
Magic and Kareem. You can't do stuff like that,
Yeah,
dog. You can't. But anyways, yeah, like I was saying, we own their pick this year. This year's draft, as you probably know,
you guys
is
must be
supposed to
so
be
happy.
it's a loaded draft, dude. Like, even
Oh,
if we come away with a pick that's like in the teens, we could still get a quality dude. I
dude.
mean, look, we found quickly at pick
Ooh,
25.
you guys are gonna be pretty good next year. You guys are gonna be pretty good next year.
All
Okay.
I'm hoping is that they miss the playoffs, so there's a chance that it gets in the lottery, man. That's all I'm hoping for.
There's no way the New York Knicks are gonna miss the playoffs the first year the Nets are actually contending for a championship. You guys are gonna want to see the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs, first round. You guys are gonna make it that way. If
I
anybody in New York wins that isn't the Knicks, they have to go through the Knicks, and I believe the Knicks understand that, and they're gonna try to get that seed to play the Nets. If
I
not,
would not
get the fifth
mind.
seed.
I wouldn't mind 7 games of home court advantage. I wouldn't mind it.
You
I
wouldn't
would not
mind.
mind. I wouldn't mind, and I think you know what I'm. You think I'm.
Yep.
You know what I'm getting
Okay.
at.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. But then again, it's like, why have 7 home games if you're not going to advance to the next round? Like, you're just playing to like get ready for the draft. You know, like,
You know
why
what?
run
You saw
into Brooklyn.
you saw my piece on why I think the Knicks are not tanking this year. It's important to develop the winning culture. So even if it is a
Very
first
important.
round exit, it's still valuable experience for our young guys. So I will take that. So as we shift from the Porzingis rumors, actually, before we shift from the Porzingis rumors, do you think they move off him this season or do they wait till the offseason?
They wait.
They wait. So you think
His
they want to
value
see
is
how it
not
plays out?
good enough either way to like get something back that's close to what he can be when he's healthy. If they give up on him now, if they keep him, they have a chance of increasing not only increasing his value, but maybe he could find his rhythm back again. Who knows? You know, like I never like really like giving up on players right away. So, you know, I'll give him another chance if I'm them.
Because I've seen Mavericks fans on Twitter. They are interested in getting John Collins. That's one name I've heard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, of course, the Hawks are shopping him now because they don't want to. I guess they don't want to pay him the max money.
Oh, I heard it was because he had problems with Trae Young and the chemistry.
Well, I mean, the whole team has problems with Trae Young because of his play style, but that's another conversation for another day. Which also attributes to why he got snubbed by the coaches. But yeah, John Collins, they don't want to pay him the max money that he wants to get paid. Mavericks, I heard, are interested in him. And I've heard another name of Andre Drummond or...
Oh, they're not getting Andre.
Well, I mean, the money works out for an Andre Drummond Kristaps straight up swap if you look at it. But I don't know.
But then again, I don't know if Cleveland's really willing to do that either.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, like they're gonna get the same situation that you guys went through when you guys had Kristaps, and Dallas is going through right now with Kristaps. And if I have a young core like the Cavs with Jared Allen, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, why am I gonna bet on this guy that, you know, hasn't proven that he could stay on that court?
Yeah, true. Very true. I guess Mavericks fans are just being hopeful they can just get something for him at this point because I've seen a lot of them. They've soured on him quicker than New York has. Like they because like I think they see like Luka such a generational talent. They're like, we don't want to waste any years of his career. So why not just maximize them?
I like that idea. They know, you know, it's true.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But like moving on from Porzingis rumors, let's talk about your team, Brooklyn Nets. Of course, they made the trade that I was strongly against, as we spoke about in the preseason. Traded Karis LeVert. They didn't trade as much as I thought they were going to trade. I'll say that. As in players, but like they gave up a lot of picks. but like picks mean nothing if you can't draft well. So there's that. That's why I was a big fan of the Philly package instead of the Brooklyn package, because at least you get like Simmons and like a Maxey or a Thibault.
But Philly understood. They were like, okay, we're not trading Ben. We'd rather get dominated in the East than trade Ben. So they chose. they chose.
I mean, hey, we'll see if that decision comes back to bite them in the rear end later on in the postseason. See if they match up or whatnot. But your Nets
The
recently
whole
coming
world
off.
could blame them. Blame Philly for allowing this to happen. They were the only
I,
threat.
I always blame Philly when I say like, why didn't they pull the trigger? Like even like when the trade first happened, I was like, yeah, Philly messed up. Like, come on now, you can't do that. You can't allow your competition in your conference to get up on you like that.
Yeah,
but
especially if all you had to do is just give up not even your best player. You have to do that.
Yeah, it makes you so much. It makes you better on so many levels. But you guys are on like a 6 game win streak or something like that, or 7 game. What is it?
They're on a 7-game win streak.
7-game win streak. Guys just beat the Kings last night. I did not tune into that game. I've tuned into actually a lot of Nets games because they actually are somewhat of an entertaining watch. You have like 3 electric scores in Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant hasn't played
on that Suns game.
That Suns game,
right? Don't think I forgot.
Nah, I knew he was gonna bring that up because I did mention on the timeline. I was like, I forgot what I said.
There was something like I think the Nets were like down like 15 going into the fourth quarter, and you were like, "Oh, Chris Paul about to put them away." I was like,
"Oh yeah, bro."
Okay.
To my point though, Chris Paul was giving y'all work in that fourth quarter. He was giving y'all work in that fourth quarter.
That's why I was like, damn it, Sam. every time he hit a shot, I'm like, damn. And then let's see, Harden just took over. He finally stopped missing because they started doubling him. And that's when Devin Booker had to step up on Shamet, but he did it. So
that post up by Devin Booker, I was like, how can't you score on Shamet? Like that just confused me. But
Shamet. Look, all right, he's a star player, so we all expect him to score on that play. But Shamet played that play really well. Like you got to. He did.
I will give Shamet credit on that. He's not typically known as a good defender or even a solid one, but he gave it up on the possession at the right time. Y'all just came off like a dominant road trip. Y'all beat the whole Pacific Division in the Kings, the Suns, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Clippers. I'll give y'all credit for that. Because I didn't think that y'all would I didn't think y'all would win that Suns game, of course, as you saw my tweet. And then the Lakers game, I kind of expected y'all to beat the Lakers a little bit because I just noticed that the Lakers just been like giving it up to everybody recently. So like they let anybody beat them now. Like they let Washington, who's been hot, beat them. They let Detroit take them to a couple overtimes. Like they just letting everybody just wash them now without AD. But the Clippers game was very interesting because of the way it ended. There were some adjustments that like Ty Lue was like tinkering with, which was interesting with like Serge Ibaka and Zubac and their minutes with how you guys play DeAndre Jordan and then how you guys run like Bruce Browne and Jeff Green at certain points at the 4 and 5. So I thought that was interesting. But the very end of the game, Kawhi Leonard is coming down. He's driving. He does extend, but James Harden is like, he's hacking him a bit. He's hacking him a bit, but like you have the right as the offensive player to like shed contact a little bit.
Kawhi could have drew a foul.
Kawhi could have drew the foul, but like Harden, he flopped basically, and he sold the play, and they gave Kawhi the offensive foul. And to me, this is not even about the Nets because like props to Harden for like selling it and getting the call or whatever. But like the refs this year have just been awful. I don't know if you noticed this.
Oh yeah,
they've been awful. Like last night in the Knicks game, Kelly Oubre drives down to the basket. RJ he kind of like nudges RJ Barrett, but RJ basically goes vertical, doesn't touch him, doesn't initiate the contact at least. They call the foul on RJ Barrett. We challenge. They look at it, they're like, yeah, it's still a foul on RJ Barrett. And then that was basically game over from that point. And we lost that game. I don't like to blame the refs for losing games, but at that moment, like certain moments, you know when the refs have taken over and they've like messed up that game for you. So how you been feeling about the refs this year before we get back to your Nets?
This year, the refs have to get better. I know they're trying their hardest. I understand that they're trying to get as many calls right as possible, but there's just so many clear calls that once we're able to see what's going on TV and we see it replay after replay after replay, it just reminds us of how bad of a call these refs made. And that's more common this year, as you said, like last night, or it was last night, right, during that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, like last night, like that's a game costing type of, call. And these refs are willing to like make that call without any regrets. Like they're willing to do it no matter what, as long as they are making a call. Sometimes they just have to allow the players to play.
Yep, just let them play.
Just let them play, because at the end of the day, if you're making a call, you're just taking away from the entertainment that everyone's here to see, and that's just these two teams, these superstars, or let's say like this talent. These talents go up against each other and giving up their all. So
yeah, like my whole issue with the Clippers and Nets ending, those are two heavyweights. That's a possible finals matchup. And then the refs just came in and like ruined the ending. Like we could have had overtime of that game. That would have been exciting for a Sunday night primetime matchup. Like they just ruined it.
But you also got to remember too, like some of these refs, they make calls late in the game because they're trying to make up for calls that they missed.
Yep, and it's like it's the inconsistency that bugs me the most. For like sure, if they're consistent, people wouldn't have an issue as much, but they're inconsistent.
Right. There's some refs that I can say like get most of their calls right, and they're more consistent than others. But the fact that, like you're saying, there's more inconsistencies within all these refs than consistencies, that's a problem.
Yeah, so getting back to your Nets, they've been dominant recently. Their defense has improved a bit. I know early on they were like really like giving it up to teams, like they was just like letting teams do whatever on them. They've kind of shorted up a little bit. One thing I noticed is that D'Antoni, I guess he's kind of implemented the same switching scheme that he used with Houston just last year when they had Westbrook at like basically Westbrook as like the pseudo five, where like they just like switch everything. And I noticed that you guys are doing that more. So like, what have you thought of your Nets recent like changes, I guess, internally, and as well as some of the like roster moves that you made? I noticed that you guys signed Shump, Roberson, and Vonleh, waived some of them, and then signed some of them back to the 10 days, which was weird to me. But yeah, how you feeling so far about the Nets and what they've been doing?
In regards to the offense that you're describing, where they Mike D'Antoni had Westbrook at the 5 and stuff. First of all, I just want to go on and say Mike D'Antoni is a genius. He's an offensive mastermind. I can't believe he's this like ahead in the game when it comes to getting offenses set up like this. Like the way he just helps this Nets team like operate offensively, even with no big man at the 5, like no true big man at the 5 at most of the time, just shows like, wow, like he can make this lineup work. That's dangerous for the rest of the league, no offense, because now teams have no choice but to adapt to what the Nets are throwing at them. The Clippers, they had Serge Ibaka dominating the game in the first quarter in the first matchup, and then they were up like double digits. But then the Nets offense just became too much for the Clippers, so they had no way but to go small to close against the Nets. And I was like, wow, like we're forcing teams, not we, but the Nets, they're forcing teams to, like match up with them. And Bruce Browne, he's surprising to me. He's extremely surprising to me. He's a great pickup by the Nets. He's only 6'3". He's playing the 5, and he can shoot better than Westbrook sometimes behind the arc, but he's not even shooting the 3 ball. He's finding out when's the right time to cut and slash, and he's very great at that. That's something that Westbrook wasn't pushing for when he was in Houston, because Westbrook wanted the ball. He wanted to dribble the ball. He wanted to create for others. Bruce Browne knows he's not going to create for others, even though he can once he slashes, because Bruce Browne is just trying to give Harden or Kyrie or when KD's playing, he just wants to give them space. And if they're getting doubled or trapped, he wants to be the guy that cuts in and gets that little floater that he likes to go to, or maybe just getting to an easy layup when the defense is collapsed because of those three superstars. So he's just literally playing his role, sacrificing, and he's perfecting it. And I love that about him.
Yeah, that was one of the pickups that I actually liked from you guys, because like I know that he can play like some really good defense. I never expected or anticipated him playing like any like 4 or 5 minutes, but like I did expect him to like be a main contributor to your guys' offense, your defense. I mean, because of because I kind of like caught some of his games when he was in Detroit, and like that was the reputation that he built for himself there, and they were really high on him. So it was really surprising when they traded him to you guys. So yeah, I do like Bruce Browne. He is a solid pickup for you guys. How do you feel about the pickups of I guess Roberson and a Shumpert, and I don't even want to say Vonleh because I guess you guys waived him, but yeah, I guess those two guys.
That was the part of the question I forgot to get to. Okay, so Andre Roberson, great pickup. That's such a steal too, and they're gonna keep him for the longevity of things. Right now, is just they're trying to see if he's gonna fit into the system. If you can defend, and this team already doesn't have a lot of defenders, and you're a wing defender, you're staying on this team. No matter what happens, Andre Roberson is going to have a roster spot for this team in 2 months, by the time the playoffs come. So I like that move a lot. He just needs to get that 3-ball going, so there is no, I guess you could say, liability offensively for the Nets.
Yeah, because then teams will start playing like 4-on-5 on y'all.
Exactly. Even though the Nets still can score when it's like a 4-on-5 because they have Kyrie, because they have Harden, because they have KD. It would just help if you could just develop that 3-ball just so you could take lots of pressure off those shoulders of the superstars. Well, Vonleh, he's just not playing like how I saw him play when he was on the Knicks. Like,
he was good for us. I liked him here.
I loved him when he was on the Knicks. I was like, wow, Noah Vonleh really improved, because I was really high on him when he first got drafted to the Hornets, I believe. And then he went to the Trailblazers, and then he went to the Knicks. And I was like, okay, like he was a lottery pick. And then he came into the league. It was just like he wasn't transitioning well from his college game into the league. And I was just like, maybe it's because the beginning stages of his career, who knows? But when I see him play out there, it's just like he's not bringing that it factor for the Nets at that position where he's still one of the biggest players on the court and on our team. He's not giving you like that vibe that, even though I can stretch the floor, like I'm gonna make sure to rebound when I can. I'm gonna make sure to defend and show that, I'm big. He's not being that player that's leaving a big impact, and that's why Norvell Pell got cut quick. And I
realized you guys cut him like super fast.
Yeah, super quick, because they want that big man that's going to show his dominance defensively. And if they're not going to do that or rebound, then they want you to at least stretch the floor. If you're not doing any of those and you're a big man, you're getting cut from this team. That's why I'm actually afraid. I'm pretty sure Vonleh wasn't one of the players that got another 10-day contract yesterday.
Yeah, he did. I know
Roberson. Yeah, Roberson and Iman Shumpert did. Yeah, so Vonleh, he lost a spot. I still have high hopes for Noah Vonleh throughout his career. But the Nets right now, what they're looking for is that type of player right now, because they're ready to contend for a championship. Noah Vonleh would do well on any other team that's not contending at this moment, because they're gonna have they're not gonna have the type of talents the Nets have right now. But right now the Nets
are win now championship mode, and like if you can't do that, if you can't contribute to that, see ya.
Yep. That's why the Nets, they're even considering DeMarcus, just because he's DeMarcus Cousins. I don't think they're going to close in on the deal, but they're just doing it because he's DeMarcus Cousins. But I think Drummond is going to fill that spot. Trust me. I just have a great feeling.
I mean, I am not, I don't even know, like, on the DeMarcus Cousins thing, I don't know why a team like the Nets would go after him. Just for the simple fact that, like, Nets need someone that's at least mobile. DeMarcus Cousins hasn't been mobile. Like
Yup.
he's like a solid he's an okay, not even solid, he's an all right pick and pop option. But like even then, his three is not falling to the rate where you're like, yo, he's like a legitimate pick and pop threat, and it's not
Right.
even worth the kicking the tires on it at this point.
It hurts me just watching him play right
Yeah, it
now
does.
because we're used to seeing him be so dominant like years
Yeah,
ago
he
when he
used
was
to
on
have like 40,
Sacramento.
20, and 10 games.
Yeah, he used to run the fast break himself. Now he's
Yeah,
like, like he's allowing the other players to run ahead of him while he's like the
he's
last one
walking the
getting on
fast
the
break
court.
this time. Like,
Yeah, it hurts, but it's like, damn, I don't want that on the Nets. Like,
yeah, it just makes more liabilities for you guys.
mhm.
Um, I am not completely still sold on you guys going all the way to the finals,
What?
mainly because I'm a hater. But
You have to say,
but
because let me hear this reason.
but I still don't trust you guys' defense come playoff time. I don't know. Maybe everyone will like really like ramp up and like legitimately lock in, but
Mhm.
like there can't be no DeAndre Jordan minutes in a playoff series if he plays like how he played for the majority of the season. I know recently he's
You
been
know
like,
he was
oh
not
right,
trying. You know he was not trying defensively.
but like even still, he's still like legitimately still somewhat of a liability against like center. I'm still waiting to see Joel Embiid face you guys because I just cannot wait to see if like he puts up like 50 and like 20 just for that simple reason.
We already beat him when he in that first matchup, but they
Now I'm
had
talking
Jared
about
Allen.
recently with like your new
Yeah.
the new squad. I want to see Embiid versus this new squad because Embiid's he's been crazy this year. I don't know if he's at the top of your MVP rankings, but like
At the top of my MVP rankings, it's him,
yeah.
Jokic, and Donovan Mitchell in that top three.
Donovan Mitchell, that's an interesting three. I do want to get back to the MVP rankings real quick.
Mhm.
But yeah, as I said, I'm not really convinced in your defense. Your guys' defense has stepped up. It's like ranked 22nd in the league now, which is an upgrade from where you guys were previously.
Mhm.
So it is improving. We'll see if it improves even more in the coming weeks as like we head towards the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break towards like when it's like legitimately like lock in time.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, your offense is complete. I mean, like you guys don't need to add any more pieces to your offense. Like it's perfectly fine. Defense
Mhm.
is the one aspect where I think like teams will probably take advantage of in the playoffs. Um, there are teams that have like the personnel to beat y'all, but they don't have the coaching that I trust. Like a Bucks team, I don't trust Budenholzer at all. Especially like he's been awful this season. I think like
Mhm.
I would not trust Budenholzer in a series against like a mind like Mike D'Antoni. I would not trust. I don't really trust Doc Rivers that much, but like he's done some things that I liked in Philly. Like he's like kind of like tapped into Tobias Harris a little bit, and like
Mhm.
they play Joel Embiid a little bit in they play Joel Embiid way more in the post now. Like he's not floating out at the 3-point line like he used to. But
Yep.
I still don't trust Doc all the way. But then you guys got like coaches like Miami's coach, but like their
They
team
go
doesn't have like the personnel I would necessarily trust to beat y'all.
exposed.
So it's a very odd mix of things in the East that you guys can take advantage of and get to a finals. So it's gonna
Mhm.
be interesting to see how it develops.
All right, Sam. This is what I got for you. The defense will improve as time passes because the team didn't even get to practice with each other when that trade first went through because the
I
Nets
will give you
already
guys
had
that.
players. The Nets already had players that haven't played with each other ever before because the Nets they got rid of everything. Like I watched this team since like 2015, 2016. The only person I really say was Joe Harris and Spencer Dinwiddie. Now you're
Yeah.
having like players that never played with each other before, like with each other, and on top of that, you do a trade that sends more players that haven't played with each other to play with each other again. So now it's like, okay, like this is the first time we're playing with each other, but we got to figure it out. What we've been seeing is just them figuring out. This would have just been like a month of or like 2 months of the off season if like that's usually when teams like get their full rosters before they actually have to go to the gym and start training with each other. The Nets didn't get that coming into this season because it's a weird year and it's also
Yeah.
like unprecedented year, so like they had to like practice within the game. That's why James Harden always had like more than 5 turnovers every game But now it's like he'll have like 2 turnovers, 1 turnover with like 15, 14 assists because he knows where to find his guys. Now teams have to be prepared to score at least 120 points if they want to keep up with the Nets. That's for any team, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Knicks. But if this Nets team just defends and keeps you under 100, even keeps you under 110, what do? You can't do anything. That's why I want the Nets and the Knicks to face each other in the playoffs. It has to happen this way. It really has to happen this way.
Why? Because one of the best defenses versus one of the best offenses?
Yep. Just so the offense for the Nets could just humiliate the Knicks defense. And on top of that, there's going to be a game in that series, if the series does happen, that you guys are going to defend well coming out the gates in like the first quarter. And then in order for us to come back, the Nets will have to get multiple and consistent stops too. And that's how the Knicks will help the Nets get better in the playoff series if they do better. I mean, if they do face off, you know?
So currently in the standings, you guys are the 2 seed. We are the 7 seed. So if the playoffs did happen today, that would be the first round series. If that happens, we have to have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 straight pods of just us two going back and forth, going over each game. If that happens,
whatever. If you see that nasty Knicks logo next to the Nets, and then you see first round series Nets Knicks,
y'all logo is so bland. Get out of here. Talking about our vibrant orange logo.
It's all gonna go down. Whatever needs to be discussed, it will be discussed. We will exploit everything the Knicks have been doing this whole year.
Well, and our offense
never forgot what you guys used.
So if that happens, there will be a series of pods with me and Ajayi talking about Nets Knicks.
Stay tuned. I hope it does happen. I really do, Sam. You know you want it to happen. If the Knicks do anything, you want the Knicks to somehow, because you guys are sick people. All you Knicks fans are sick people. If the Nets get anything or come close to getting anything, you guys want a chance to stop it, to put an end to it. You know, because that's how
Knicks
I know
fans,
Knicks fans is.
I've talked with a whole bunch of Knicks fans. We are not necessarily afraid of a Nets first round series, but we want to pick our matchup smarter. Not smartly.
Okay.
I don't even think that's a word. We want to pick our matchup smarter because we think we have better chances against teams like Indiana or Milwaukee, where their coaching stinks. Or even a Boston, where you see Boston has been basically hovering around 500, just like us, the whole year. Sure. So we feel better in matchups like those because we feel like those teams were better equipped to take advantage of them. With the Nets, we know our defense will hold up in those games, but our offense just can't keep up. Our offense
Wait, you said the what is going to keep up?
Our defense is going to keep up.
The defense is going to keep up.
But
the Brooklyn Nets?
The Knicks offense is going. I mean, the Knicks defense is going to keep up, but our offense,
there's no
stinks.
defense that could keep up with this. All right, the offense, I give you that. It stinks.
Our offense stinks.
But against the Nets, you guys will not stink. The offense will be like that Warriors offense with Clay and Curry and all of them. That'll be the offense against the Nets.
All I'm saying is that Julius Randle will get his, but I don't know about the rest of our squad. Honestly, that's it.
If Julius Randle goes down for 2 weeks, God forbid, or a month, and you guys have to fight and get those games and get those wins, you guys are going to fall into an 8th seed. And if the Nets are at that 1st seed, Nets are going for that 1st seed. The Nets will finish this regular season in the 1st seed. If you guys fall in that 8th seed slot, good luck. That's all I got to say. I hope you guys don't fall in the 8th seed. I want you guys to be a 6th seed and make it to the next round. And I still don't even think you guys see us in that round. No.
I would love for us to avoid the play-in altogether, because if we end up 7 or 8, we still have to go through the play-in games, play 9 and 10 seeds or whatever it is. That's just extra stuff, extra steps to the process. I don't need that right now. I'd rather 6 and above.
That's why he wanted to get rid of the play-in games. He was thinking about the Knicks. Yeah, from the first pod.
I didn't necessarily want to get rid of them, but I'm okay with them now because I see that there are so many teams that are in the mix, it will make it more entertaining at the end of the year. Every year it's not going to be like this though. Like I said in the first pod that we did, like some years the 10 and the 9 seeds may be so far behind the 8 seed, it's like what's the point at that point? So like this year you see everything is close, so it makes more sense. Maybe the NBA knew that it was going to be like that and that's why they did it. But I mean, hey, it is what it is now. Going back to your MVP rankings, you said Donovan Mitchell was your third. I thought that was very interesting because a lot of people don't have Donovan Mitchell as high. Some people didn't even want him in the All-Star game over Booker. Yeah, so like a lot of people are down on Donovan Mitchell. I think it's because of his like percentages and like he's like sometimes inconsistent, but like he's the leading scorer on the best team in the league with the best record. So it's like you got to show him some type of respect. Like some people, when they talk about someone from Utah as their MVP candidate, they have like Rudy Gobert. And no offense to Rudy Gobert, he's amazing defensively as like an anchor for them. But like you got to give it to Mitchell for everything else that he does too. And I mean, they have Clarkson and Conley that do their stuff as well, and Bogdanovich. But like, you still got to give your credit to Mitchell there.
You have to. Without Donovan Mitchell, they have no leader. They have no one that could get them a bucket whenever he can. They have no one that draws attention from the defense. And the thing about the Utah Jazz, like you mentioned, they are the best team in the NBA right now. The thing about them that what makes them so successful is that they rely on like the depth and the chemistry, the way their system is formed to win games. They lost a big piece last year in the playoffs in the name of Bojan Bogdanovic. They lost him and gave up a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets, you know. And that was heartbreaking if you were a Jazz fan. You had to witness that because you understand how better the Jazz were than the Denver Nuggets that season. But they had to lose to the Denver Nuggets because they were missing a 20-point-per-game shooter, sharp shooter, you know. And I just believe this season we're seeing Donovan Mitchell's best season ever. Like, he's averaging more than 24 a game. He's shooting more efficient. He's shooting the 3-ball more than he used to. And the Jazz haven't even lost double-digit games. I mean, they haven't even lost double-digit games yet. Like, they only have about, like, 6 losses right now. He's third in my vote, even though, like, some will even put him higher than Jokic. I'm only having Jokic up there because he contributes more in other categories for his team. But Donovan Mitchell is third because he's so valuable to that team, that Utah team.
Yeah, they're 25-6, and they've like went on a stretch where they've won like 20 out of their like last like 22, I want to say, or something like that. So like they've just been steamrolling teams, and like the way they beat teams, it's not like, oh, they're barely beating teams. They're like smoking teams, and like the reason because of that is they get so hot from three. Like, and when they get hot, like when Jordan Clarkson starts like making these contested pull-ups from like 25 out, like it's over for your team at that point. Like you just gotta kiss it goodnight. Like when they were early in their win streak, my Knicks had faced them, and like Austin Rivers had went off that night in the first half. I don't know if you remember. He had like 25.
About that for a week. I heard about it for a week because everybody just kept talking about it. Yeah. I thought Austin Rivers was gonna have a breakout year after that game.
Knicks fans too, but like now he's out of the rotation because he's so inefficient and inconsistent. So,
but I was wondering what happened to him. I thought he got injured or something.
Nah, he got out of the rotation because Derrick Rose came in, and Derrick Rose plays and quickly, like Derrick Rose and quickly they play way better than him, so he had to get the boot. I mean, he's welcome to be a cheerleader for the rest of the year, but he only plays well when we play against Utah, and like after that, Utah had we were close in that game with Utah, and then we went cold, and then they started to shoot better, and then it was over, and that's what happens most nights when you're facing the Jazz. Like sometimes you're in it, and then they get hot, and then it's over.
Yep.
And part of that is why I kind of like am like doubting them in like a series against the Los Angeles Lakers or like a Clippers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because it's like relying on that type of hot shooting is just not reliable, especially in playoff games when the game slows down, when teams are like able to really game plan and scheme against you over a longer period of time. that type of shooting, it's not going to catch teams by surprise anymore. They're going to be expecting it, and they're going to shut down those paths to those type of shots. So that's part of the reason why I'm kind of down. I'm not down on Utah as like a regular season team because like they've been like destroying teams, but like come playoff time, I do have my concerns about them.
Yeah. I just wanted to find out last year if they just would have just made it to the next round, but they want to just choke a 3-1 lead. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Bojan, that happened. Like they went up 3-1 without Bojan.
Yeah, so you expect them to close the deal.
Yeah, I expected them to really close out the deal, and they just choked. Oh my god, I never seen anything. But that was even worse than what the Clippers did. So my mind got off of it quick.
Yeah. So who are some of the other people in your MVP rankings?
Kevin Durant, LeBron. I wouldn't even throw in Giannis this year. I honestly wouldn't.
Giannis Loki is having such a good year, but like the team is like underperforming, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's just like not what we're used to seeing from, the Bucks. However, the whole league, the whole association got better. That's why the Bucks can't do what they used to do.
Like the Bucks used to do what Utah is doing right now.
Yeah.
They used to like steamroll teams, get hot from three. But like they sacrificed some of that depth when they went after Drew Holiday, and then they started missing Drew Holiday, and then they started going on a losing streak, and then here they are now. They're like 19-13. They're still pretty good, but like not to the level that we thought they could be.
Yeah.
One thing that came across my mind as I was thinking about things, I was like, what if they didn't trade for Holiday and they just saved their assets for like a potential Harden trade, and Harden ended up there.
They couldn't even find out. But that would have definitely they would have been a threat to Philly and Brooklyn, and it probably would have pushed Philly to rush and trade Ben Simmons because Houston really wanted Ben Simmons. That's how much like nobody really talks about. They really wanted Ben Simmons to the point like in the first pod we just kept talking about like if Philly just decides to give up Ben Simmons, we're going to see James Harden and Joel Embiid, probably the best shooting guard right now and the best center of all time. I mean, all time. Whoa. Let me not disrespect the best centers of all time, but the best center of our time right now playing on the same team. Like, that was so close to happening. But
it was.
Hey. So, it's
but
unfortunate for the Bucks. Unfortunate.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. And, I mean, at least Giannis gets paid, so... If you're gonna be at least like not all the way contending, at least get your bag. So,
right.
But as we're recording this, the NBA games are starting to get on, and we got an exciting matchup tonight: Utah versus the Lakers. I guess you can say. And that's all we have for today. Thank you, Ajayi, for coming on once again. We definitely will do this again, and especially if the Brooklyn Nets and the Knicks meet in the playoffs.
For sure. Appreciate you for having me, man. Always
no doubt. It's always good to talk hoops with you. You want to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Jai Browne on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
All right. And make sure if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, wherever, hit that subscribe or follow, leave a rating, a review, helps me out a lot. And that's it.